This Council resumes the second reading debate on the Statute, Law, Miscellaneous Provisions Bill 2025. Honourable Maggie Chan, Chairman of the Bills Committee on the bill, will first address the Council on the committee's report. Madam Deputy, in my capacity as Chairman of the Bills Committee, I report to the Council the main areas covered by the scrutiny of the bill. The bill seeks to make miscellaneous amendments, including those arising from the systematic review of statutory laws of Hong Kong led by the Law Reform Commission, amendments to numerous items of legislation, including subsidiary legislation, to bring them into conformity with the Basic Law and with the status of Hong Kong SAR of the People's Republic of China. There are also technical and consequential amendments and repeal of obsolete enactments, etc. It also includes amendments not arising from the systematic review. The Bills Committee has held 3 meetings with the administration to discuss about policy matters of concern and about various clauses. The administration has responded in the meeting and in writing. Members expressed concerns that some of the revisions to be amended or repealed were clearly obsolete. They urged the administration to step up efforts to identify obsolete provisions and make good use of technology to help find them for repeal or amendment. Members have asked about the criteria used in considering repealing provisions. According to the administration, an important consideration in pursuing the adaptation of laws exercise is to have any provisions which contravene the Basic Law or are inconsistent with the constitutional framework of Hong Kong as an SAR of the PRC repealed or amended as necessary, while still reflecting the relevant policy intent of those provisions having regard to their context and purpose. There are circumstances where, instead of a mere substitution of certain terms, it would be necessary to suitably replace or rewrite the whole provision. Members have also asked about issues in amending legislation with a unique historical background. For example, the bill proposes to replace various references to block crown lease with government lease or lease in the Block Crown Lease Cheung Chau Ordinance. Members were concerned that the public and the legal sector might never know about the history of this matter. The administration acknowledged the fact that block crown lease covered a particular type of land lease which had a unique history in Hong Kong. The term block crown lease was retained as a historical reference in the long title and the interpretation of lease under Section 2 of the Ordinance. The bill proposes to amend various references to overseas in the Securities and Futures Ordinance, a subsidiary legislation, and the Securities and Futures Amendment Ordinance 2014 by replacing them with non-Hong Kong, outside Hong Kong, or non-local. Members have inquired about the reasons for the proposed amendments and whether the meaning of the current references covered mainland China. According to the administration, the references to overseas in the existing provisions were all intended to cover certain matters and persons that are or from outside Hong Kong, including those in or from mainland China, but might not accurately reflect their intended meanings of the provisions. The term non-Hong Kong could succinctly reflect the nature of the matters defined by the relevant defined terms, and was, therefore, a suitable substitute for the word overseas. However, the administration has considered the circumstances and context of certain provisions and would replace the existing references to overseas with non-Hong Kong or non-local. The bill proposes to amend Bylaw 16A of the Kowloon Canton Railway Corporation bylaws. Members have inquired about whether there was any plan to repeal the subsidiary legislation, and it was related to the former intercity through train service, which has ceased to operate. The administration has advised that the proposed amendments in question sought to adapt the contents of the provisions. As to whether other amendments were needed in the light of changes in the railway service policy, a decision would be made after the Policy Bureau has conducted a comprehensive review. Members also opine that the proposal to replace the references of mainland China with China (excluding Hong Kong, Macau, and Taiwan) in the tables of the Insurance Valuation and Capital Rules might give the wrong impression that Hong Kong, Macau, Taiwan were not part of China. In view of the comment, the administration would move amendments to retain the references of mainland China. Having considered the comments of members and the legal advisor, the administration would also move various amendments, including the addition of new provisions and the commencement date of relevant provisions in relation to the revision of the English name of Hong Kong Macau ferry terminals, as well as some textual and technical amendments. The Bills Committee does not object. President, I now express my personal views on the bill. First of all, I thank the Law Reform Commission, as well as government departments in their work of leading the systematic review of statutory laws. Within just 1 year, an omnibus bill was introduced to repeal obsolete provisions and bring certain provisions into conformity with the basic law and with the constitutional order of the Hong Kong SAR. This will be more in line with the direction. This shows very clearly the logic of our laws having to conform with the constitutional status of Hong Kong. In this exercise, colonial terms have been purged. This will also be conducive to showing the logic of our provisions. The wording, definitions, and standards are clearer, and this also provides a basis for further adaptation exercises. There was a focused discussion by the panel that drafting should be simple, straightforward, and easy to understand. We believe that this approach will enable the public to understand and search our statute law. This will be conducive to the rule of law in Hong Kong. Since 2015, together with some professional bodies, we've been fighting for decolonization of our laws. I'm very glad to see that different governments have been working with high efficiency to update in a systematic way our laws. We have patriots administering Hong Kong. We also have a government that sees that is being result-oriented. I thank the work of the Bills Committee as well as the Secretariat. I speak in support of the bill.
Ms. Carmen Khan. Thank you, Deputy President. I speak in support of the Statute Law Miscellaneous Provisions Bill 2025, the bill in short. In July last year, as the member of the Statute Law Miscellaneous Provisions Bill 2024, I asked the administration to enhance the frequency of the introduction of an omnibus bill by, for example, introducing such bill 2 times in a single year to enhance efficiency. I am glad that the administration has taken on board my suggestions. They are going to introduce another piece of omnibus bill to cater to adaptations of laws that are technical, minor, and non-controversial. The LRC Secretariat has been regularly reviewing the statutory laws of Hong Kong, which include the adaptations of law, consolidation of laws, and repeal of obsolete laws. The DOJ said that they have established a mechanism to coordinate different policy bureaus so that they will review the principal subsidiary legislations under their purview. Madam Deputy, I'm not a member of the Bills Committee. I hope to give my views as to whether Loi Dei or Dailuk should be used as the Chinese rendition of the word mainland. According to the Bills Committee report, the administration said that if mainland is used in relation to Hong Kong, then we should use the word Loi Dei as the translation or the Chinese rendition of the word mainland. However, if mainland is used in relation to Taiwan, then its Chinese rendition should be Dailuk. Under the Insurance Valuation and Capital Rules, Chapter 41R, there are provisions containing England, Hong Kong, Macau, and Taiwan. Administration, therefore, suggests to replace the word mainland Taiwan with China, bracket excluding Hong Kong, Macau, and Taiwan. Members are worried if such an amendment would lead to misunderstanding that Hong Kong, Macau, and Taiwan are not part of China. As a result, when there is provisions that include mainland China, Hong Kong, Macau, and Taiwan, we should use the phrase the part of China other than Hong Kong, Macau, and Taiwan instead. The government will move amendment on this. There may, however, seemingly be inconsistency. So I hope that when the government amend legislations in the future, they would adhere to existing provisions by drafting our laws clearly. The administration has introduced 2 pieces of omnibus bill in this term of the Legislative Council. This has shown a positive interaction between the executive and the legislature. I hope that the administration will review the statutory laws of Hong Kong as soon as possible. And I hope that the administration will work with the Education Bureau to promote this piece of bill such that members understand the significance behind the amendment. This will enhance the sense of national pride among our people. Dr. Dennis Lang. Madam Deputy, I am a member of the Bills Committee. On behalf of the FTU, I'd like to speak on the Statute Law Miscellaneous Provisions Bill 2025. The FTU is of the view that the bill has repealed obsolete laws and replaced some phrases that are outdated. This has enhanced the readability of the relevant provisions. This has made our legislation more clear, and it has enhanced people's understanding and confidence in our laws. This has social significance, and this will enhance the professional image of our administration. This bill contains 68 parts and 235 items 10 policy bureaus, 4 departments, and 4 judicial departments, and many more government offices are involved. Miscellaneous amendments are to be made to different pieces of legislation. There are 2 groups of amendment, including amendments arising from the systemic review of the statutory law of Hong Kong and those not arising from the systemic review. We have repealed obsolete laws. Many principal and subsidiary legislations are involved, including lands registration ordinance and money changers ordinance. Through technical amendment, we strive to make our legislations more consistent and clear. Hong Kong has all along upheld the rule of law, and this is based on the operability and the clarity of our legal system. And this is how we can leverage on our common laws supplemented by statute law. By modernizing the language used in the legislations, we can solve the long-standing issues that we have. This is how we can simplify and streamline our legal system. This bill shows that the administration has taken a proactive approach to clarify our laws. The FTU fully supports the Statute Law Miscellaneous Provisions Bill 2025. In the course of scrutiny, I've pointed out that the use of some wordings may lead to misunderstanding, and I questioned the inconsistency between the English and Chinese rendition, which may undermine people's understanding of our laws. On the consolidation, amendment, and modernization of our laws, I have spoken on a few areas. I'm glad that the administration has taken on board some of my suggestions. They have consulted relevant stakeholders on some amendments. This shows their careful administration. There are some terms used in our laws with colonial overtones or connotations. Many provisions are unclear, dated in terms of their language, and some of them rely on notes or interpretation for understanding. The FTU hopes that the government will make better use of technology and artificial intelligence in amending the legislations. Instead of substituting phrases mechanically, by this we can shorten the time needed for amendment. Many pieces of legislation are involved under the bill. This is how we can modernize our laws, and this is also conducive to enhancing the efficiency of the government departments in modernizing our laws. The FTU is willing to give the administration more suggestions as to how we can further improve our laws. And Madam Deputy, I so submit.
Mr. Rock Chen. Madam Deputy, I speak in support of the Statute Law Miscellaneous Provisions Bill 2025. Our laws comprises a basic law, legislation enacted after 1997, the laws we have before 1997, as well as Annex 3 of the Basic Law. There is a large number of references with a colonial overtone. Since the reunification, the government has been amending the law to update them. Every so often, a statute law miscellaneous provisions bill will be introduced to update, repeal, and improve relevant legislation. 2018, 2019, 2020, as well as last year, there were omnibus bills introduced. There is a large experience accumulated from these exercises. We need to update our law to make it updated. This time, there are a number of provisions in relation to Her Majesty and the Governor. There are suggested amendments. Well, in the audit ordinance, there is replacement of chief executive for the governor. There are also references replaced. There are also adjustments to references of regions and areas to include places. Say, for example, under the money changes ordinance, country and places have been changed. There are also some non-controversial amendments. Say, for example, our police communications officer's Chinese name has been amended to 警察通訊主任. The amendments make our laws in better conformity with the basic law as well as the constitutional status of Hong Kong. There is a large number of outdated references. This is an omnibus bill with 68 parts and 235 items. The context as well as background have been taken into consideration. It's not just a mere substitution of the words. It's been 28 years since reunification. The government needs to step up on its work so that the references will be in line with Hong Kong's constitutional status. I agree that innovation technology as well as AI should be used to assist. Well, in relation to matters such as mechanical replacement or paper-based amendment, there are easy solutions. Well, today we have launched the subtitling of the proceedings in our meetings. The accuracy can reach 99%. So in relation to mechanical replacement of references, the approach I just mentioned can be used. Say, for example, to use AI to find the places where a replacement is needed, and then we can manually check and verify the information. In relation to paper-based exercise, well, then we need to use electronic formats. I speak in support of the bill. Professor Priscilla Leung. I speak in support of the Statute Law Miscellaneous Provisions Bill 2025. The name of this bill is Statute Law Miscellaneous Provisions Bill. I'd like to explain to the public that it is an important bill covering many different legislation. We talk about decolonization as well as adaptation of law. The public may not understand what is meant by adaptation of law. In short, it is to update obsolete provisions, update references, say for example the term Her Majesty. We phase out these references through our exercises. There are also inconsistencies in our laws. We carry out our exercises by different batches. I've asked about the timetable as well as the roadmap. The secretary said that they would like to introduce omnibus bills by batches before the end of the term of the government. I'm very glad to hear the timetable. Last year there was the first batch. This year we have the second batch. When it comes to adaptation of law and decolonization of our laws, well, it's a complicated exercise. There were references identified, but the adaptation was put on hold because it may involve the powers of the central authorities. This time round, we encounter the same difficulties again. The government has kept an open mind. They are open to suggestions. They listened to us when we suggested that certain matters have to be put on hold. This year is the 28th year since reunification. I think the pace of the adaptation is slow. It's led by the Department of Justice. The DOJ will have to approach different policy bureaus. I think it's a chicken and egg problem. Should it be the policy bureau that is in charge of suggesting a change of the law because there are new conventions, new agreements signed? But sometimes the situation is different. Users, lawyers themselves identified places where amendments are needed, so the attention of the DOJ is drawn to these matters. Every time we met in the Bills Committee, we saw teams from the Policy Bureau. Policy Bureau are users. They should have a more active role. But if they can't do that, then what about those who know about the matter? What should they do? Well, the Department of Justice will be the umbrella organization in charge of the exercise. We have been talking about the use of technology in recent years. Back in 2000, in the City University, I applied for leave for 3 years to work on a system with a bilingual version of the Chinese law. I gave a presentation at the Department of Justice. They purchased a version from us. The system has been sold to a large company. That was back in 2000. We went around to different government departments and the government of different places to promote the system. It was back in 2000. People talked about going paperless. At that time, we did not believe it. But now we do not use paper format of publications. We use the database. Fast forward 25 years, it's now today. We need to make active use of technology. Policy bureaus may not initiate change unless it is urgent. There may be cases when in an important matter, you all of a sudden realize that there are laws that needs an updating. I believe that there are plenty of softwares in the market, in the library, government library, the LegCo, and the Department of Justice need to do that. The librarians will have to go find them. Well, I don't know how the Department of Justice, which is tasked with such a humongous job, will go about it, but I hope that the pace can be expedited. We don't want to see something that is ridiculously large. I have made a suggestion. It was accepted by the government. It's Part 5, 7, 1, 7, 8, 1, and 9, bracket 1. That is in relation to the insurance valuation and capital rules. There is a proposed amendment. Mainland China is proposed to be changed to China bracket excluding Hong Kong, Macau, and Taiwan. Is China bracket excluding Hong Kong, Macau, and Taiwan. On a number of occasions in the Bill Committee meeting, there were discussions about the use of mainland China, 中國大陸, and 內地. So, in relation to Taiwan, the term 中國大陸 is used. Nowadays, after the reunification, we use the term mainland, 內地. We all agree. Well, now we have the word Taiwan. This popped up for the first time. And there is this fear of mine. When a layman reads it, the person may think that Hong Kong, Macau, Taiwan were excluded. They were not lawyers. They're not like us who will mull over every single word. And there are suggestions that Hong Kong, Macau, the part of China other than Hong Kong, Macau, and Taiwan is quite mouthful. I do think that keeping the reference mainland China is the best. It's easy to understand. I'm glad that our suggestion has been accepted. This shows that the government carefully consider members' views, and they have done a lot of homework. I support the bill. I so submit.
Mr. Holden Chow. Thank you, Deputy President. I speak in support of the Statute Law Miscellaneous Provisions Bill 2025. Here, I would like to thank the government's departments for their efforts to introduce the bill. 4 meetings have been held. We have covered a very wide scope. Now, to be fair, I know that we all understand where this bill is coming from. There were some obsolete colonial references which need to be replaced. That's our consensus. So all along, we have been urging the governments to speed up its work. But I said we have to be fair. Some members or the public may not know how difficult it is. Sure, it is easy enough to replace the reference to Her Majesty with central government. But the difficulties are much more than that. For example, there are some merchant shipping ordinances which are based on the UK's law. So when we are amending these ordinances, should we moderate on the mainland's merchant shipping ordinances or those from overseas? That's not something that the Hong Kong SAR government itself can decide. Discussion with the Central People's Government is needed to sort out the details. So we understand the principle of dealing with simple issues before the difficult ones. It's easy enough to change the references, but when authorities and departments are involved, it's more complicated. So there have been several rounds of omnibus bills for amending the statute law, and I see that the government has been doing its best. So there are some outstanding issues to be sorted out. I hope the government can deal with them as soon as possible. Now, some other members mentioned that we should use AI to identify the obsolete terms. I will not labor on this point. Now, there have been some discussions during the Bills Committee's meeting on certain terms. I thank the government for acceding to our suggestions on changing the references in relation to mainland. And also, the Crown lease has been changed to block lease or government lease. That's a suggestion raised by Mr. Rin Kong. Now, there is one thing I need to highlight. This bill involves the term overseas in the securities and in the securities ordinance, securities and futures ordinance. Now, if the government didn't mention this issue, we wouldn't know that the term overseas under the SFO includes mainland China. Now, when we were discussing this, many Bills Committee members were astonished. Of course, we are part of China. So we are absolutely astonished that mainland China is considered overseas places for Hong Kong. That's a very outdated concept. So there has been a lot of discussion on that point. Now the government is going to change the term overseas to non-Hong Kong. So to be specific, non-Hong Kong includes mainland China. But that's way better than saying that mainland China is overseas place. I find this ridiculous, personally. But I'm grateful for the government for raising this issue. Now we are rectifying the reference. Now, having conducted 4 meetings, we have gone through all the details of the bill. Now, the scrutiny process of this omnibus bill is good for the public's education. It highlights Hong Kong's status in the constitutional order in the country, and it strengthens our national awareness. So for the remaining issues to be amended, I hope the government would keep up its good work. Keep it up. I know the DOJ has spent a lot of time on this omnibus bill. I thank them. I so submit. Mr. Rin Kong. Thank you, Deputy President. I speak in support of the Statute Law, Miscellaneous Provisions Bill 2025. First of all, the DOJ has introduced the omnibus bill a second time during this term of the government to conduct adaptation of the law to change or repeal obsolete terms. Now, I applaud the DOJ's efforts to take the lead in amending the statute laws. Now, in one of the meetings in May, I asked why the TLB has to publish a notice on the Gazette and not again to specify commencement dates for changing the name of Hong Kong Macau Terminal. Now, I thank the government for replying to my inquiries. The commencement date will be changed to the 1st of January 2026. Now, it shows that the government is serious about changing the expressions and the follow-up works. I thank the government for taking on board our suggestions. Thank you. Does any other member wish to speak? If not, I now call upon the Secretary for Justice to reply, then the debate will come to a close. Secretary. Deputy President, on behalf of the DOJ and the bureaus and departments involved in the bill, I thank Ms. Maggie Chan, the chairperson of the Bills Committee on Statute Law Miscellaneous Provisions Bill 2025, and all its members for their hard work and invaluable views. The scrutiny work of the bill has completed smoothly, thanks to the effort. As I said in Council this April when I moved the second reading of the bill, the DOJ would introduce a statute law miscellaneous provisions bill into the Council from time to time to make miscellaneous amendments to various enactments efficiently by way of an omnibus bill. The last statute law miscellaneous provisions bill was passed by the Council last year. Riding on the successful experience, this year, the DOJ continues to coordinate various bureaus to propose adaptation of references in or provisions of various enactments which are inconsistent with the constitutional status of the Hong Kong SAR. The proposed amendments can be broadly categorized into two groups. 1. Amendments not arising from the systematic review of statutory laws of Hong Kong. 2. Amendments arising from the systematic review which involve repealing certain obsolete provisions or references in enactments in a consolidated manner. The amendments proposed are largely minor, technical, and non-controversial in nature, but are important for the purpose of updating or improving existing legislation. 3 meetings were held between the Bills Committee and the Administration on the 14th of May, 6th of June, and the 9th of June, respectively, during which the bill's clauses were scrutinized closely. Members in general agree with the bill's contents and support the swift passage of the bill. The Administration fully agrees with members' views that it is important to update or improve legislation in a timely manner and that there is an urgency to complete the work on adaptation of laws. Shortly after the passage of the Statute Law Miscellaneous Provisions Bill 2024, the Administration has introduced another omnibus bill into LegCo. The two bills involve a total of over 200 ordinances, marking a milestone in our work on improving and adapting laws. The Administration will continue to expedite our work on dealing with the remaining laws yet to be adapted. The DOJ is actively considering the feasibility to introduce another omnibus bill in 2026, involving amendments that are also minor, technical, and non-controversial in nature. We hope that the policy bureaus in charge can seize the opportunity and complete a draft in advance. We have considered and taken on board members' views on the bill. Committee-stage amendments have been drafted in consultation with the relevant bureaus and departments. I will move the amendments and explain their contents in a moment's time. President, I so submit. I implore members to support the second reading of the Statute Law Miscellaneous Provisions Bill 2025. Thank you, President.
I now put the question to you that the Statute Law Miscellaneous Provisions Bill 2025 be read the second time. Will those in favor please raise their hands? Those against, please raise their hands. I think the question is agreed by a majority of the members present. I declare the motion passed. Statute Law Miscellaneous Provisions Bill 2025. This